Episode 5, The Invisible Scars. The horror begins at Hongjin Elementary School. Choi Jong, a dedicated grade 1 teacher, stands pushed to the absolute edge. In a desperate bid to end her life, she attempts to hang herself in the school playroom, leaving a final, chilling message for her mother. Read my diary. Mercifully, she survives. Inspector Hanum arrives on the scene, immediately putting the traumatized teacher through a mental health evaluation. The diagnosis is staggering. Jong's stress levels are dangerously off the charts. Hanum orders an immediate intervention, insisting Jong take a leave of absence before it is too late. Desperate for justice, Jong's mother submits the devastating diary to the Education Rights Protection Bureau, ERPB. With Jong sidelined, the brilliant but unorthodox investigator Hwa Jin steps in as her substitute. But the classroom is a war zone. On his first day, Hwa Jin is utterly overwhelmed by the chaotic kids, gaining a newfound, grueling respect for what educators endure daily. Then, the truth behind Jong's breakdown unravels in a series of shocking flashbacks. It started innocently. A mother approached Jong, asking for help to build her son Ugjin's confidence. But the requests quickly mutated into an obsession. The mother began aggressively messaging Jong at all hours, stalking her social media, and launching invasive attacks on her personal life. When Jong begged the principal for help, she was told to sit down and shut up, all to avoid upsetting the parents. Despite the crushing isolation, Jong didn't give up on Ugjin. She built a dedicated playroom just to help him open up. It worked. Ugjin began to thrive, but the progress shattered during a schoolyard scuffle when Ugjin struck a classmate who accidentally pushed him. The parent-teacher meeting descended into absolute chaos. Ugjin's mother acted with monstrous arrogance, sparking a vicious feud with the other parent. When Ugjin refused to promise he'd behave, his mother's instability escalated. She began stalking Jong's home. Then came the nuclear option. Ugjin's mother filed a malicious, fabricated complaint with the bureau, accusing Jong of inappropriate behavior and sexual harassment. The school administration panicked. Ugjin's father stormed the school, violently dragging his son out of class while screaming threats in Jong's face. To seal the torment, the mother leaked Jong's phone number online. Drowned in an endless barrage of threatening calls, public vilification, and total psychological collapse, Jong chose to end her life in the very playroom she built to heal her students. Back in the present, the ERPB team, Hwa Jin, Hanum, and Gwai are reeling from the cruelty. Director Gang Suk delivers a bitter truth. Emotional abuse is invisible, leaving teachers to bleed out in silence. Gwai warns that the legal system is completely toothless against toxic parents. As Hanum and Gwai rush Jong to a specialized hospital, Hwa Jin goes on the warpath. When Ugjin's mother struts into the school to intimidate the new teacher, Hwa Jin plays it brilliantly, throwing her off guard with excessive praise. Then, the psychological warfare begins. Hwa Jin relentlessly bombards the mother with non-stop calls and messages, turning her own tactics against her. Driven mad, she threatens to unleash her banker husband. Hwa Jin doesn't flinch. Instead, he marches straight into the husband's bank, orchestrating a massive, highly public scene that leaves the man completely humiliated. When the father lunges with violence, Hwa Jin effortlessly shuts him down, demanding he control his temper. Terrified, the parents run to the principal. But the tide has turned. The principal finally finds her spine, declaring that teachers are human beings, not scapegoats. Gang Suk delivers the final blow to her administrative cowardice. Think like an educator, not a bureaucrat. Furious, Ugjin's mother pulls her son from the school and rallies a mob of angry parents. But Hwa Jin is already waiting for her. In front of the entire assembly, he slaps her with a formal complaint for domestic child abuse. The crowd turns on her instantly. When she tries to scramble away to call the police on Hwa Jin, he drops a bombshell. He is the ERPB inspector. Meanwhile, a heartbreaking breakthrough occurs. Young Ugjin sneaks out to meet Jong, sobbing as he apologizes for his mother's volatile rage. In a beautiful moment of pure grace, Jong comforts her student, proving that her heart as a teacher remains unbroken. Hua Jin warns the mother to back off forever, reminding her that her son genuinely loves the teacher she tried to destroy. As authorities officially lock down an investigation into the abusive mother, Gang-suk takes to the national airwaves, delivering a historic, sweeping apology on behalf of the Ministry of Education, promising radical new legal and medical protections for teachers. But the peace is short-lived. The episode closes with Hua Jin opening Jong's diary, discovering a terrifying clue. Ubjin wasn't the only child causing her torment. Episode 6. The Shield of Minors. The mystery deepens as Hua Jin pores over the evidence from the brutal murder case of their former colleague, Jong. He is deeply suspicious of the killer Gaucho's true motives, earning a sharp warning from Gang-suk. Do not let your thirst for vengeance cloud your judgment. Needing a break, Hua Jin, Gwanda, and Hanam head out for dinner, only to stumble into a felony in progress. A gang of drunk teenagers hijacking a car. Hanam springs into action, violently intercepting one of the punks as he tries to drag a terrified young girl, Yenjin, into the back seat. The boys tear off, triggering a high-speed pursuit. Hua Jin expertly maneuvers his vehicle to box them in, while Hanam yanks the keys right out of the ignition. At the police station, the audacity of the teenagers is infuriating. Smirking, they claim it was just a harmless joyride because the keys were left inside. Worse yet, the traumatized girl, Yenjin, defends her captors out of sheer terror. Their enabling teacher, Mr. Lee, arrives to sign their release papers, casually dropping a devastating truth. These kids know the law protects minors, and they exploit it ruthlessly. To rub salt in the wound, the delinquents file a countercomplaint of child abuse against the ERPB. Gang-suk pulls strings to clear his team and immediately reassigns them to investigate the epicenter of the rot, Pyeongjin Middle School. The moment Hua Jin sets foot in the school, the smug arrogance of the teenage gang is palpable. Hanam commands Gwanda to hunt down Yenjin's digital footprint. Gwanda strikes gold, tracking a social media photo of the gang posing near a school locker. They rush to the location and rip the locker open, finding Yenjin stuffed inside, brutally battered and bruised. Under Hanam's gentle questioning, the horrific truth spills out. Yenjin desperately wanted to be a K-pop idol but struggled with her weight. The gang's ringleader, Jong, fed her weight loss pills that were actually highly addictive narcotics. Once hook-fed into addiction, Jong demanded extortionate amounts of money. When she ran out of cash, they forced her into a drug distribution ring using students as mules. Yenjin had tried to report them before, but a slap on the wrist punishment from the school only made the gang return with escalating cruelty. Furious, the ERPB confronts Jong. The punk just laughs in their faces. Arrest me if you can. I'm 14. The law can't touch me. He picked the wrong team to provoke. Hua Jin and Hanam ambush the gang outside the school gates, unleashing pure psychological terror. Under Gang-suk's direct, iron-fisted orders, the trio bypasses the standard courts and hauls the boys straight to a maximum security juvenile detention center. The warden is terrified of the political fallout, but Gang-suk is unyielding. Desperate times call for ruthless measures. To ensure the lessons stick, Hua Jin, Hanam, and Gwai infiltrate the facility, signing on as prison guards. Inside the concrete walls, the dynamic shifts instantly. Hanam dares the arrogant punks to lay a hand on her. When they try, she absolutely decimates them, calmly smiling, self-defense, while Gwai forces them into grueling, non-stop study sessions. Hua Jin executes a psychological masterstroke. He deliberately places the arrogant teenagers on the radar of the facility's red patch inmates. Jong's blood runs cold when he learns the red patch prisoners are convicted murderers. Stripped of his arrogance, forced to do hard labor, and trembling with fear, Jong completely snaps and brutally assaults an inmate. The victim doesn't fight back. He just stares at Jong with a chilling, dead-eyed promise to return the favor. Hua Jin later whispers the inmate's identity to a sweating Jong. Kimu Jayam, a man serving life for slaughtering his high school bullies. Outside, a storm is brewing. The wealthy, entitled parents gather at the Ministry of Education, screaming child abuse and threatening a media circus. Gang-suk calmly invites them to the facility for one final meeting with their sons. The reunion is pathetic. The tough-talking street punks are reduced to weeping messes, begging their parents to take them home. The parents fiercely confront Gang-suk and Hwa-jin, but Hwa-jin cuts through the noise, exposing the gang's massive drug syndicate. Ringleader Jong desperately screams that the pills were just harmless diet supplements. Hwa-jin doesn't argue. He grabs Jong, forces a handful of the pills into the boy's own mouth, and threatens to make him swallow. Jong loses his mind, sobbing and shrieking the truth. "They're drugs! They're drugs!" Busted, the filthy rich parents immediately try to throw money at the problem, offering financial compensation to make it disappear. But Hanum walks Yenjin into the room. Gang-suk gives the victim the ultimate power of the verdict. With tears of fire, Yenjin refuses to forgive a single one of them, condemning the boys for turning her youth into a living hell. Jong loses control and tries to charge at Yenjin, but Hanum slams him into the floor. Over the desperate protests of the wealthy elite, the handcuffs slap onto the boys' wrists. They are dragged back to the dark cells. Gang-suk publicly vows to rewrite the juvenile penal code, while Hwa-jin leaves the boys with a terrifying reality check. They will rot in juvenile detention until they turn 18, the exact day they will be tried as full adults. Later, Hwa-jin offers a quiet nod of thanks to the Red Patch inmates who helped break the boys' spirits. But just as the case seems closed, the peace is shattered by a sudden, violent explosion of chaos inside the cell block. An inmate lunges from the shadows, a sharpened shank aimed squarely at Jong's heart. But before the blade can pierce him, the infamous killer Gaucho throws himself into the fray, blocking the assassination attempt in a spray of blood. Hwa-jin watches from the observation window, his eyes wide in absolute, paralyzed shock. The war for justice has only just begun.